So we're going to be talking about 3 skincare secrets that no one else is talking about.
The first one is eat with your skin. So maybe, Jared, you can explain to us what that means.
Eating with your skin means just don't treat the outside of your body any differently than the inside. As above, so below, as within, so without. That's a underlying universal principle to all of life. Stop thinking that your skin wants these special chemicals and inedible products and lab-derived ingredients.
Nature has an intelligence that we won't ever be able to figure out completely. And maybe that's the point.
The third skincare secret that no one's talking about, which is
welcome back to the Medicine Podcast. My name is Mimi, and I have sitting next to me my beautiful blue-eyed partner in life and love and podcasting.
What is going on, everybody? Extra excited today. We have one of our homies, our brother, someone that we've spent many nights with now.
Sounds so weird.
Many late nights in his beautiful cottage, hitting the bag and talking about the meaning of life. We've crafted this beautiful idea to get none other than Jared Pickard back on the Medicine Podcast. Welcome back, Jared.
Thank you. What's up? By the intro. Yeah, I feel like we were just together.
We were, yeah. I know, I was talking to one of our other brethren that was on the trip with us, Steve. Shout out to Steve Panico. But for our listeners, they know we went to Greece and Italy, and the man you're listening to now is the mastermind behind the Italy trip, the group that we had together. It was honestly the best trip of my life. It's going to take a lot to top that, and it's probably going to be one of your own events that tops it eventually. But it was absolutely incredible. 10 out of 10 in every way. And so as you're listening to this episode, just know that this is the mastermind. This is the genius behind the trip of our life. So we've during that trip, it felt like so many more memories than you should be able to pack into 1 week with a group of people, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, because we're in, before breakfast till after dinner. So
right.
A lot of times, maybe you're at a hotel on vacation with friends or something, you meet up at meal times and certain activities, but then you hole up in your room for a while. But, we were all on this one property together, and we had a lot of planned activities, which of course you didn't have to come to, but overwhelmingly people did. And so we put in a lot of hours,
Mm-hmm. And the meals in and of themselves were like 3-hour meals where you're getting into deep conversation, sitting next to a different person every single night, pouring over 5-star immaculate food. It was magic for sure.
Yeah,
I loved it.
I'm still running on the carbohydrates that was consumed over the course of those 7 days.
I think my blood sugar is still elevated.
But it was, it just shows you vacation metabolism, happy metabolism can really take just about anything in the human body and turn it into to good fuel. So grateful for that. Well, we're really excited for the conversation today, Jared. We've had you on here probably 2.5, 3 years ago. And so some listeners might be familiar or recognize your voice or name. But before we get into today's conversation, which is talking about skincare, and we're talking about 3 really underrated components pertaining to skincare because you've become this master as it involves your products and so much of the work that you do. But before we get into the skincare realm, let's just give the listeners a little bit of a backstory. The last episode, we talked with you about your Wall Street background, which you kind of dropped everything based on this intuitive nudge to jump into farming with the establishment of a biodynamic farm, biodynamic expertise, and ultimately this really tragic situation that ultimately became one of your biggest catalysts for growth in the form of California wildfires. And so I'll leave it at that, but maybe if you can, elevator version of your backstory, just to give the listeners a little bit more context before we jump in today.
Yeah, starting in reverse from what you just said, and we were talking about this right before we went on air because I turned 40 yesterday, And you're sort of asking, well, how does that fit on? How does that feel? And I really feel like a master of nothing. I think the pursuit of mastery in anything that I do is a for sure, present motivating factor. If to put it that way, but I feel like a student in an ongoing, journey of discovery. That's what I would feel like most, especially with some of the interests you just named, like skincare and biodynamic farming, or even whatever it is that I do for the events you're talking about, the live experiences. I don't know what that's called, event planning, experience creating, and I might, it's hard to say which I like more, the creating of it, the planning and coming up with it in the first place, and like the executing even more than the actual, because I'm there participating too, so I have the opportunity to just experience it almost as a guest in real time. And so the event themselves, as you were just describing, are so amazing. And I also really kind of like the 6 to 12 months of work that goes ahead of it. And then, of course, I really like the after comments of people when the things stick with them. And so that event program is kind of a nice way of answering your question, because we wouldn't have done that this event program if not for the fires. Because had we not pivoted away from developing essentially a hotel project on the farm in California, that type of experience creation and wellness and nature immersion and the types of things that we like to do at the live events, you could imagine that happening on a somewhat perennial basis at Be Here, quote unquote, the hotel. So just because the fires came and the ability to do that project as it had always been dreamt up until that point, which was as a hotel, burnt down, the life passion for wanting to do this type of stuff didn't change, so it just sort of found another, like water pouring down a cliff face. It just sort of like found another way to flow. And that's where the live events came from. And the other thing that, let's say, survived the fires is this what we can call the skincare products. Although I never really feel like we're a skincare company, and I don't think too much about. It's really weird. I don't think too much about the skincare industry or the other available options, because I feel like what I'm skincare is sort of, I think in the industry in general, like making the skincare products, that's the whole universe of that product. So it's like, it's the end, it's the point for doing it, and it's the end product. Whereas in our case, the skincare products and to an extent the live events are really like a secondary effect of the fact that we have the farm, and that we want to connect with nature, and then we want to share that with people. And so if you're growing a plethora of medicinal botanicals, I mean, the natural, like, it would be insane not to then turn it into something beautiful, right? So it's sort of like I love the fact that now we're down here in Texas where we've relocated to, and our garden is up and running, and I have to remember how to work in the garden. And the product making is this beautiful, abundant gift that comes off of this deeper process of connecting with the land. So it's like, it's the end result, but it's not the original, it's not the motivating factor for their existence.
In this little cup, I have my favorite way to enjoy MushyLove, which is in combination with cold milk. We drink raw cow's milk, and I put it about 8 ounces of milk in with about a scoop and a half of MushyLove. That combination, like the cold version of MushyLove, tastes like liquid graham crackers. Like, I shit you not. If you don't know yet what MushyLove is. It's our mushroom elixir with 500 milligrams of chaga, which is amazing for gut support. They call it the king of mushrooms. And then 500 milligrams as well of tremella mushroom, which is the beauty mushroom. And she is most known for holding 500 times her weight in water. The more hydrated we are, the more plump and dewy and fresh and young our skin looks.
Plump and dewy.
For MushyLove, go to getmushylove.com and you can use the code medicine for a nice little discount that we only give to our medicine podcast listeners.
I was just going to say, I really feel like, deeply embedded in the Be Here brand is this importance of experience. And whether it's the trips that we've taken with you, whether it's the events that you facilitate, whether it's your products through skincare, the emphasis on experiential knowledge is heavy and I think very clear, different from what you get so much in the, let's just say, skincare or supplements, speaking from my world, which is a transactional relationship with the products or with an event that you might go to where you're actually most concerned with the outcome. And you actually hijack your ability to be present and take nuggets from the present moment because you're focused on what is the deliverable that's been promised by this trip, experience, product, etc. One of the things about, even the comment that we made of, wow, I can't believe how many memories I had over the course of 1 week. Well, that's just evidence to the fact that you are present in the experience, and every second that you're present, you have the capacity to take something away from that, without this expectation of what it's going to be like when it's all said and done, what the Instagram images are going to look like when the trip is over, what my skin is going to look like when the application of the skincare product has been put on. Those are transactional. And there's certainly, probably a time and place for that level of relationship with your products or with the things that you choose to put your money towards. But deeply embedded in Be Here is this idea that you're going to be able to get more juice from the squeeze by just participating in the experience itself, whether that's in the form of a product or whether that's getting together with people. And to me, that's really what stands out.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on how I think about it, which is that if you take away all the things that kind of get in the way of prevent, let's talk about a live retreat or an event of some kind. So you're there, obviously, to the degree that you've agreed to do this, you've disconnected from work and you're not taking care of the dog and the kids and all the normal stuff that happens. So there's a huge amount of stuff that's been eliminated from your stress load immediately. And if we can do that further by placing somebody out in a more natural setting, like away from city noise and, Wi-Fi signals and whatnot, and if we can do that further by taking away the normal things that disrupt your digestion and sleep, like low water quality and low food quality, and if we can structure the day in a way that feels balanced, in my case, kind of looking at it through the check model of the 4 doctors, like if the 4 doctors are balanced throughout the day, and also if there's a balance between like yin and yang, let's say, throughout the day, which is just how a human in general, this is like the four doctor model, so this is how a human can live their life, but it's also how an organization can be set up, and in my case, it's also how an event can be run. That's what I found. And so like by creating the environment for us to naturally, like you said, be present and thrive, that's sort of the end of my job, I feel like, just kind of setting up that opportunity, and then people experience it without any sort of regimented, rules or program. It's like we're doing this at 1, we're doing this at 3, and giving people the opportunity to sort of go about their day. And then all of those things are so transferable. That's the beauty part for me with our products and with the event, is it's meant to sort of inspire you to just look around at your day and your lifestyle in general, because all of the beautiful things that people love about our products and our live experiences are essentially immediately available. Just your desire to prioritize them and structure them into your day.
Yeah. It's a good point. I'm realizing now even more so why I feel like I have more memories than I have on other trips and stuff is because I made a vow to myself at the beginning of the Italy trip to leave my phone in my room unless we were going on a hike or something like that, but leave my phone in my room for meals, for everything, unless I absolutely needed it. And man, God damn it. Just you need to turn off your phone, leave your phone, purposefully separate yourself from your phone more than you think you need to. And you will feel so much better. Like you will be more present. The days that I leave my phone off, it feels like I'm living 2 days in one day because I'm experiencing everything in my day rather than experiencing half of it because I'm, like this. And it's just one of those things that we have to, it's a first world, modern world problem that we get to navigate. And I love your approach. I love that it's hard to pin down because I'm the same way. When someone asks me like, oh, what do you do for work? I'm like, well, there's not like, what are you? I'm like, there was not like a word. I don't know what I am. Here's the things that I enjoy and here's my gifts to the world that I like to, offer. But it's so hard to pin down. What exactly do you do? What are you? Are you a farmer? Are you a skincare? Are you an e-commerce? Are you, event planner? And I think that's just, a sign that you're diversifying your joy in life and you're not pinned to one thing. But all of those things you do very well. So I think it's a good sign. I think it's a good sign when you can't actually pin down who and what you are.
I resonate with that for sure. Absolutely. I mean, I just had a funny conversation this morning because I had a guy come look at this post that's like falling down on this fence that got built. And I told him that I originally bartered for the fence. And then he goes, "What'd you barter?" And I was like, man, like I bartered access into this men's group that I started.
Yeah, the men's group. I didn't mention that either.
So I'm talking to like a fence guy, and he's like, "Men's group?"
He's like, what kind of kinky shit are you into?
You know what I'm talking about? and I had that gentleman come out to bid on the fence originally, and I ended up not using him because I had this awesome thing come up where somebody wanted to barter into the program for building the fence around our farm, which was such a cool opportunity for both of us. And so I felt that this morning profoundly. I was just like, I don't even know really what to describe. I was like, sort of a spiritual program.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel that. Yeah. Absolutely.
I love it. Well, let's get into I know that you're not making skincare products, but you are also making skincare products. And
there's like 40 gallons of it oil right behind me. I'm for sure all the time making skincare products.
Yeah, really. I mean, I think a better description of like, oh, I own a skincare brand. It's really more like I'm an earth alchemist and the byproduct is skincare.
I mean, that is accurate, but also it is so weird to say in almost any setting.
Yeah, they're like, all right, where's your like wizard gown?
Yeah.
Well, let's get into the skincare because I shared this on my story yesterday. Like, your products honestly are
the best.
Down gold in a bottle. It literally looks like gold in a bottle. Like if you were to melt gold down into a liquid, it literally looks like that and it feels like that. Nourishes the skin in a way that I've never had with any other skincare product. So, we want to share your wisdom around.
They're the best ever.
Yeah.
I don't like skincare products. I don't like the way it makes my face look or feel. I don't like the smell. I don't like it on my fingertips all day. But my skin drinks up these products. Mm-hmm. And I was reminded on our trip to Italy because we had a very nice experiential facial and skincare day that my body is asking for it. And so even in the last what has it been, 60 days? I've transcended my age, I think. No, but for real, my skin feels dewy and supple.
I just imagine all of our pores like
right. Yeah.
just like drinking the golden. And it's so true because you call them serums, which we'll get into the different products and stuff, but you call them serums, but they really do feel like oils to me. Like they feel like really nice oils. But I'm a sucker for a good facial oil, and these are by far my favorite because they don't stay on your skin. They actually absorb, which, some of the other ones I've tried, 2 hours later, you're still looking like a grease slick. And it's not a cute look, and I also am like, what is this doing if it's just staying on the top? So there's many reasons why we love your products, but we would love to get into your genius, your knowledge, and some wisdom that you can share with our listeners. So we're going to be talking about 3 skincare secrets that no one else is talking about.
The first one is eat with your skin. So maybe, Jared, you can explain to us what that means, and we can go from there.
It's about the fact that you and I, in particular, I can agree with you, have no prior interest in skincare products, really. And skincare products, I'm speaking in generalities now. So, of course, partially, if not largely incorrect. But it seems pretty common that skincare products are targeted towards very specific things. And they'll have like hero ingredients that will be presented as hyaluronic acid or vitamin C or whatever the buzzy ingredient is, and the claims associated with it for your skin benefit. But it's just not how I approach life at all. Through lab-derived ingredients and extracts to target specific symptoms. So our brand is just an absolute reflection of how we go about our own health and well-being, which is holistically. And so in general, we don't eat really very many processed foods. So let's just start with the category of whole foods. That were grown in the ground, that you could name with a name, So if I'm looking at the back of a packaged good in the supermarket, if there's anything but those whole foods on it, I'm going to be pretty skeptical of, how good this is for me. And there's a litany of them, which are right in the middle to tail end of such a high percentage of healthy looking foods in healthy, organic grocery stores, whether it's xanthan gum or a myriad of other things that get dropped into our foods. And so, personally speaking, I sort of try to draw a pretty hard line. So, right there already, we try to draw a hard line and think if we eliminate these things from our diet, it's just going to be cleaner, less disruption, so we try to stick to whole foods in general. So we don't really treat the outside of our body any differently than the inside of our body. So all of the ingredients in our products, I'll think about it like clay, for example. You're not going to eat very much clay, but any other ingredient that I could think of and salt. You don't want to eat the jar of salt. Obviously, you want some salt.
I don't know, Chase. I call him my salty boy because he
No,
can't get enough.
I'm full of salt. I'm saying, but you're not going to eat a 1 pound bag of salt.
Right.
But the rest of our products are genuinely edible. There's nothing stopping you other than the flavor wasn't made for
taste buds
for eating. Yeah, there's nothing. It's just olive oil to speak to you, Mimi. In terms of the serum feels oily. In the summer solstice serum in particular, the kind of our flagship product, it's 100% olive oil. And so all of these things that we use are recognizable in your salad, So calendula, rosemary, rose geranium, chamomile. You've heard of these things. Mm-hmm. And so what makes them special, especially because I'm not a dermatologist, I'm not a scientist, I haven't researched these things. They were all discovered through direct experience, trial and error, folk remedies exclusively. Like these are all, to write down our recipes is sort of funny, but because the gentleman who originally created several of them with us, our farm director, like even when we transitioned out of California and then I started 100% making the products, without him and exclusively on my own, we wanted to do like a transfer of knowledge in terms of the recipes that we developed. And they're all like 1 part this, 1 part that, 3 parts this. Like it's not like 428 grams of this,
Yeah.
So it's we make it according to folk traditions at the highest level. And so that's how we grow our food, and our skincare products are food. There's just no difference between the fruits and vegetables we're growing for our home and the medicinal plants we're growing for our skincare products. They're all grown side by side in the same garden. And so eating with your skin means just don't treat the outside of your body any differently than the inside. That's as above, so below, as within, so without. That's a underlying universal principle to all of life. And there's infinite wisdom in that principle, as above, so below. And that's what this first one means, is stop thinking that your skin wants these special chemicals and inedible products and lab-derived ingredients. I mean, to name, I didn't know any of this, but when our serum was years ago, when it was just being responded well to, even at farmers markets when we were selling them in person, I wanted to know like why is it so good, And so I would call these different labs, like nutraceutical labs and places that do testing on things, and try to find, I would be like, I want you to tell me what's so good, like what's in it.
Yeah.
There's vitamin C in this thing. Like, what's in this thing? Like, what are the vitamins and minerals that are making this click? What amounts are they in? And I couldn't do it because the only way you could test for something is to test for something very specific that you're looking for. So you have to say, I expect there to be X milligrams of, let's just keep saying vitamin C in there. And then they take that substance that they have, like a controlled version of X milligrams of that substance, and then it's sort of a pass-fail whether that thing's in there. But they can't just go searching for what's in there. So if anybody ever tells you that something is in a product, I believe that it's been derived in a lab to be essentially an extract or an isolated, version of that product. Whereas the active ingredients in our product, they can't just go hunting for. They'd have to use 1 milligram, 2 milligram, 3 milligram. They'd have to use every control of every substance in like the known universe and see which one's lit up, I guess. But they're not going to do that. So unless you're taking lab-derived extract of things and putting it into the product, then you say, I know that this is in there, and then they test for that exact thing. You're back to taking vitamins instead of eating a balanced diet. And so there's a lot of thoughts behind the entourage effect of the active ingredients in these plants and foods being digested and made available to our body at a much greater impact when they come in their, let's say, natural packages.
Something I love that you have on your website, and probably other places too, but and I don't know if this is just a quote from your brain or what, but you say, when you have ingredients as clean as these, the next thing to do is as little as possible. Which I love, because it's, everything that you just said for the last 5 minutes is really summed up in that one line. It's like, nature has an intelligence that we won't ever be able to figure out completely. And maybe that's the point, like maybe we're not supposed to be able to figure out exactly how many micrograms or milligrams of vitamin C or, hyaluronic acid or whatever these are in your skincare products. But if they're as clean as possible and you know the benefits, the antioxidant benefits and the just nourishing oils and things like that, you know that every single one of those ingredients is high quality, then it's kind of a slam dunk when you just leave it alone and let nature do its thing. When it's that clean, and you don't use any preservatives or stabilizing agents in your products other than honey, sea salt, and I think olive oil, right?
And those are the products themselves. I mean, these are just the ingredients of you're talking about. The salt is in our bath salts. So that's 100% salt-based product with the exception of the essential oils that we blend into the salt. The 3 serums that we offer are 100% olive oil, or 50% olive oil, 50% avocado oil, or 50% olive oil, 50% sweet almond oil. And so these oil, under certain conditions, they'll find olive oil in a tomb somewhere, 1,000 years ago. Like, oh, that smells pretty good. These things, under certain conditions, like honey, for example, it doesn't really go bad. So these are both our main and only ingredients that act as self-preserving agents without the need for preservatives. I mean, it's the whole thing about not doing it, Yeah. I try not to do stuff that would then require those other things. In fact, that's the genesis of our dry mask and wet mask products. Well, the original genesis was that at live events, we would mix up face masks and do the facial experience that, Chase, you were referring to. And so we're mixing clay and honey and oils and powdered flowers and different things into a face mask. And after each live event, I would say, man, I wish we could make this into a product. I just don't know how we would do that because it would go moldy so fast. And I started looking at different face masks on the shelves, and for sure, they all have different preservatives in them of some kind. The absolute best I ever found was, I think, rosemary extract or something. I was like, all right, that sounds pretty good. But in general, there's homogenizers and stabilizers and preservatives and all those things. And so finally, I had the memory of when I was a kid, I used to make Betty Crocker cake mixes all the time. I grew to be quite heavy at the time of my life. But anyways, the box is the dry ingredients, and you got to add the wet ingredients at home. You drop in the 2 eggs and the cup of milk or whatever, and then you got a cake. So that is where our dry mask and wet mask came from. I was like, I just got to separate the dry and the wet ingredients, because the dry ingredients, we're talking about clay, dehydrated flowers, aloe powder, dried mushrooms. These things take a very long time to degrade. And the wet ingredients, it's now beeswax, olive oil, glycerin, and honey, all of which are used to preserve other things. Like people make tinctures out of glycerin for children. So all of these things are preserving agents in their own right. And that makes up the entirety of our product line. They're naturally stable units of nature.
Yeah.
That's our whole thing. The line you referred to off the website, the next thing to do is as little as possible. That's like a good chef. One of my favorite restaurants of all time is the Chez Panisse Cafe in Berkeley, California. And it's Alice Waters' place, who's like the matriarch of slow food in the USA. And you could get like lettuce with olive oil, vinegar, and shallots chopped up to it, and you'd be like, oh, this is the best salad I've ever had in my life.
Right.
Like one type of lettuce. It's not even, it's not like a complicated thing. You take those ingredients and you do as little as possible. You get out of the way, and what you've captured is, the essence of this plant. And that goes sort of into the next topic of skincare secrets, is know who's growing your skincare.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I think most people, would you agree that most skincare is not actually grown? I mean, it might be lab grown, but
let's take a look at the back of these bottles. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's like ingredient list.
coming from the supplement space and just nutrition at large, we're trying to limit the amount of ingredients with the products that we purchase by keeping that ingredient list quite short, and they should be all pronounceable and foods that we recognize. I don't know why we haven't let that trickle into even the clean beauty space or clean skincare space, because some of these gums and binders and preservatives and stabilizers, they look like they're from an alien planet.
Yeah, it looks like the name of like a transformer.
Right. Yeah. I was Megatron.
And so it just goes against my philosophy. Like, I don't know about those things. I don't research those things. I just have a hard line against them. If, for example, I was going to start using something of an unpronounceable name on a daily basis, of course, now I'm going to research it and see what is the thing and do I want to be doing that. But I try to keep my life simple by just not even introducing those things into my life in the first place. So yeah, the ingredient list going chemically is, that's not even in that's not on my radar at all when I'm looking at food or skin products. But so you've now just let's just try to knock out big tranches of the available skin, because when you're buying a carrot at the grocery store, maybe you're looking for it to be organic, and then maybe there's some that are unlabeled. Let's call them chemical. And then the preferred nomenclature being conventional. But I think that's good marketing. I think chemical carrots and organic carrots, which in a grocery store 9 out of 10 times, if not 9.9 out of 10 times, that's going to be industrial organic carrot. So that's a category of farming. If you go to the farmer's market, you'll find small to medium scale organic farms. You might also find some industrial farming, but less likely. You might find some biodynamic farms. You might find some hydroponic organic farms. Hydroponic is now certifiable as organic, and that means there's no soil and potentially sunlight involved in the process. And wrap your head around that for a second.
What are they using? Magic? Spells?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what goes into the nutrients of a hydroponic farm, but there's certainly less than can be found in the mystery of the living soil. And I'm certain that it's somewhat similar to the mindset of organic fertilizers, which you would find on industrial organic farms, as well as almost certainly small to medium scale organic farms, like the kind you could find at the farmer's market. So I'll circle back to these because I'm just kind of naming them all. So that you might find some biodynamic farms. You might find some other small, really boutique operations that are talking about things like permaculture or Korean natural farming or biointensive farming or some other farming styles, all of which generally resonate in sort of the beyond organic, super high quality range. Usually, it's hard to generalize about these things, but those are the different farming styles available to us when we're looking for food, or in this case, skincare. And there's an organization which puts out some interesting data on occasion called the Bionutrient Institute, which we'll confirm and we can link to, of course, that tests the nutrient density of the foods available to us from these different farming systems. Data aside, my own empirical evidence reveals that there's a tremendous difference between in the results of these different farming methods. And as lay people, which I consider myself to be, sure, I have a little bit more experience with gardening and stuff like that, but I'm by no means an expert. And so we can just all, for the most part, agree and look at, on the side of the highway in California, for example, there's miles and miles and miles of examples of industrial farms. And there'll be one crop, let's just say an apple tree, living in really pretty barren looking soil, which your mind would think like dirt. It would call it dirt as opposed to like soil, you know, it's just to be like, look at that dirt. And they eliminate everything in the whole field except what you would call the cash crop. And so they're using, if it's an organic industrial farm, organic pesticides, organic insecticides, organic herbicides, organic fungicides, and they're using organic fertilizer. And so that's true on small and medium scale organic farms too, but a small and medium organic farm probably has a little bit more of the methodology of trying to rely on biodiversity and compost and cover cropping, where you plant certain, you know, green crops into the field that are going to be pushed down or rolled down or cut down so that the soil can digest them, adding nutrients back into the soil. So there's all these different methods on a small, medium scale farm you're much less likely to find on an industrial farm. Any of these little steps that you take towards like a more regenerative, more nutritive, more giving back process, you're going to find a happier, more diverse living soil, which is going to be making a higher quality crop. So what's interesting is that I listed hydroponic organic in the middle there because it's an organic certification now. And so it just came to my mind when I was talking about organic stuff. But I mean, I would put it at a very low end of the quality spectrum. And the Bionutrient Institute's tests, I believe, reveal that as well. At least my sidebar conversations with some people in the organization, just casual talks with them, have revealed that. I don't know if I haven't seen actually a test that shows this, but my understanding is that there can be a several 100-time difference in nutrient density between a hydroponically grown, let's say, piece of spinach and a biodynamically grown piece of spinach. Like you'd have to eat several hundred pieces of spinach to get the same antioxidants present in one piece of properly grown spinach, let's call it. So that is where the method in which the ingredients were grown in the first place becomes, to me, obviously the most important, the most important hack. Like, I think arguably you might find far superior skincare products from seemingly random farmers market artisans and craftspeople that look like they printed their labels at home than you might find on, you know, Sephora's shelf. Not to harp on one particular store, but just like a cosmetic store shelf. And then just to circle back to those people, in my experience, just through inquiry, there's a very large percentage of those people who are buying their ingredients from wholesale online providers, which brings you back into industrial organic. Even though it looks like they're selling at a small farmer's market, it turns out they're buying from these large third-party wholesalers. And so that's kind of gets you into scale of the farms, industrial versus small to medium, mom and pop, as well as, you know, freshness. Because if you're buying it from a third-party wholesaler, you don't actually really know, and oftentimes they don't. Because if I ever was in the position to try to buy something from somebody that like I didn't grow or didn't know the grower, I have to start asking questions. And if the answers can't be answered, then I can't really consider it, because it's like it's total mystery. But, you know, country of origin is not really enough. Sometimes there's laws about, you know, imports identifying country of origin. That's as far as it might go. Like these can't be Kenya. It's like, oh, okay. Well, I don't know. That doesn't give me too much information. So my fear would be that these ingredients could possibly, A, have chemical remnants of chemical agriculture in them, or B, be old by potentially multiple seasons. Like there's certain ingredients that we don't grow. For example, the olive oil. I go so out of my way to capture the highest quality, freshest olive oil. And olive oil is only pressed once a year, you know? So your olive oil is either from this season or it's not. Okay? it's not possible that they just made you some more freshes. And so I have this huge, right next to me, I was going to like grab it for a prop. I don't need the prop, but I have this huge stainless steel vessel next to me that we purchased this year in California and had it sent to the mill at the moment of its pressing, because these things, if they were to sit out for a day or two or three, like the olives have to be pressed within ideally 24 hours of being picked. So think about that, like all the olives in the world, except for, of course, lower qualities of olive, which who knows what they do with. But in general, everybody who's harvesting an olive around the world to press oil is trying to press it within 24 to 48 hours. Best ones immediately. And so our olives are picked on this biodynamic farm in California, this called Sunhawk Farms. And so our stainless steel vessel is there on the mill that day. So it never goes into plastic. It never gets transferred. It's not hitting, oxygen multiple times. It's here in this stainless steel vat until the moment that we use it. I know for a fact that other companies aren't doing that. It's like, they're just not. They're buying from third-party middle people. They're not going directly to the farm. And if they are, they're talking about it, and good on those brands. And, they're out there celebrating it, and that's awesome. But I'm just talking generalities. So knowing who grows your ingredients, if you can't answer that question, I think there's a huge, question mark in my mind as a consumer as to what could possibly be the cleanliness or nutrient density of these ingredients, given the vast differences that are available across those farming systems.
Yeah, I think we really should amend that skincare secret. Know who grows your skincare and when.
Yeah, absolutely. And that typically I find comes down to a scale thing. Because the smallest scale people are only dealing with fresh ingredients. They don't have necessarily a warehouse or industrial size equipment or anything. So it's all much, the smaller the scale, the higher the quality control, I would say. The higher the opportunity for quality control.
It's so true. I've in some of my favorite supplement brands, I'm at this point I don't take very many like mainstream supplements. In fact, it's the jankiest websites. It's the companies that have huge blog posts that aren't like created with marketing language and perfect copy and perfect tags, but are hella educational. Yeah. And then you see something like they go out and forest for the pine pollen that they use in the tincture versus like a chemist in a lab who's been a formulator working for the supplement industry for 30 years and hasn't taken a whiff of a fresh forest in probably a decade. That to me is like, big red flag. And there's a couple brands that are doing it the right way for sure. Megan's been to Japan to vet our mushroom products. Organifi hired an herbalist instead of a traditional formulator. This woman is just incredibly in tune with naturopathic remedies. And so those things are just the secret sauce actually behind this whole industry when it comes to ingredients. And the reality is the sexiest looking brands are funneling their money towards marketing, not necessarily towards high quality ingredients.
There's an inverse relationship, I think, at least in my experience, I think with most brands, probably in the skincare world and the supplement space, inverse relationship with, the higher the marketing spend, probably the lower the quality, because I was saying this on my Instagram the other day, like talking about AHCC and the quality. We haven't spent $1 on marketing. It's all been word of mouth, social media shares, things like that. And it's been very successful over the last few years. And that doesn't happen without any marketing. That doesn't happen with a crappy product. Word of mouth it doesn't work. And so I think, I tend to trust the smaller batch, the smaller companies that you can tell they're not really spending a ton on marketing. Like they're probably spending their time, energy, and money on quality of ingredients. And like you, which I would love for you to speak to a little bit more, the intention, the time that you're taking with some of these ingredients and the time that it's taking to infuse the sun into these specific ingredients. Obviously, you can speak to it much better than I can, but when we speak to like the seasonality of these ingredients, can you go into a little bit more, like maybe the summer solstice serum? What's going on here with the level of intention that you're spending on one product? Just so people can really understand, like, they're not cheap products for a reason. And when you listen to like When you listen to Jared and what goes into creating this little bottle, you're like, oh shit. Okay, I get it.
Yeah. I will answer that question. Absolutely. And I'll try to answer it, fully, but I'll just share a really funny real world example of that whole conversation you were just talking about marketing versus sort of doing in the world. Because this year I guess last year now, we were honored with an award called the Sustainable Newcomer Award from this group called the Green Spa Network. And the language on it was actually really beautiful. I don't remember it exactly, but for like doing great environmental efforts, for like leading the industry, for inspiring joy, and like all sorts of different things. It was a really beautiful honor to get nominated, and that I didn't think for sure we were going to win because the other brands were much bigger, well-known brands. There were 3 brands nominated in this category. But I went to this thing for a variety of reasons, not thinking we were going to win, and then we won. And the lady next to me, who was a woman who I became friends with at this event, and she's got her own actually, you received gifts from her brand in the Italy trip. So that Jenna, the founder of Lyme Botanicals, which is another great, herbalist-led, I'm not an herbalist, she is, led skincare company with very clean ingredients. She was like, yeah, I voted for you. I was like, why did you vote for me because we became friends yesterday and like she had to vote last week. It's like, why'd you vote for me before you knew me? And she said, at this time we didn't have a website. We just had like a landing page. There was no shop or anything. She's like, I went to your website. I was like, you didn't even have one. I was just like, this guy was probably up to some legit shit. And so I voted for you. And I just thought that was so funny because I was like a week away from finalizing my website. And I was like, oh no, the no website is better than the website. But I just thought that was so funny that, another peer in the industry voted for me because my website looked like we were probably out in the field doing something. Yeah. And to answer your question, I mean, more relevant in time to me right now is like last night I was distilling lemongrass, which is one of our hydrating essences that we produce. And it's the most seasonal product of all the ones that we produce because it's a water-based product and it's not preserved in any way. So, 9, 12 months from now, for sure, you're going to notice a serious decline in its smell. And eventually it'll sort of, I don't know exactly what it is, but there'll be a little cloudy bloom inside it. And, it's gone bad. So like last night I was distilling lemongrass, which means like right now, lemongrass hydrating essence for the next several months is as fresh as it gets. And it comes out of this. First of all, you got to grow it. Second of all, if you're just imagine most distillations occur from dried ingredients bought through third-party wholesalers online. So like yesterday, my daughter and I are outside harvesting lemongrass and immediately bringing it inside to chop it up into, some couple inch pieces to put into the copper still. And the whole home smells like lemongrass. It takes hours and it comes out literally drop by drop. And that's just the funniest pace to accomplish anything at, and you have to be present with it because the ice at the top, you could run a hose into it and circulate water, which just feels like more of a waste of water than, is really necessary. And so I do the ice method because basically you're putting plants into a copper still with water at the bottom, just like you would set up a steamer basket for dinner. And then the steam passes through the plants. And then when it gets to the top, it's got to hit something cold because otherwise it would just steam out. So when it hits something cold, it then condenses into droplets and comes out this copper tube. And that's how you capture hydrating essence, which is what we call it. Typically, it's called a hydrosol. And that's also the process of making essential oils. Hydrosols are typically considered a waste product by the essential oil industry. Mm-hmm. And I posted a photo yesterday on Instagram of what percentage of a distillation is essential oil versus hydrosol. And it's way less than 1%. It's like a very, 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 very thin ribbon of oil that rises to the top of a half-gallon glass jar. And you can just see it's like you could barely put your fingers together to indicate how small of a ribbon it is. And just think about the clean beauty industry, how common it is to see things scented with essential oils. And it just seems like, based on observation, that there's much more organic essential oil-based products out there than there are quality organic farms in the world. So
Right.
it's like, where are these coming from? Are they fraudulent? Are they adulterated? Are they many years old? I don't really understand the process, because when we do it, you can see with your own eyes how precious it is, and how much plant material. Even let's say there are that many farms producing high quality organic essential oils for the clean beauty industry. That's a remarkable environmental impact. We must be growing hundreds of thousands of acres somewhere of these plants just for the clean beauty industry. So like, essential oils are a very intensive, precious thing at the end of the day. And so we use them really sparingly, at a much lower percentage than I think is probably normal. Like just a few drops in a given bottle, or in the case of the summer solstice serum, 0 drops. There's nothing added to the summer solstice serum other than the botanical infusions, which is your question. How do we make our infused oils? And time, like, I was actually moved by your question, because it made me think about it for a second, and it just made me think about so many hours, whether it's sitting by the still or preparing the ground for something to be planted, or trying to start it from seed, and then like insects eating it, which is what's going on right now. Like, all these trays of baby plants are just getting devoured. And so it's like, oh, I got to start again, maybe next year. Oh, this will be great in 3 years. This is out of control. Got to harvest this. Like, I have so much Tulsi, I don't know what to do with it, but I got to dry it and bundle it, like hanging it up in my office, drying and bundling it because the dehydrator's not working. It's just like endless, what are the chickens doing? Because it's not like we have this industrial monoculture where we have the cash crop. We try to create, just like at our events, we try to create this dynamic environment for everything to thrive. And for us, that involves there being like over 100 different varieties of different plants out there, even though probably 15 or 20 of them are what you could consider like our cash crops that we're growing for the purpose of making skincare products. So the journey of when the serum really starts is hard to answer in some cases, because the answer could be just so many years ago. And to flash forward to like a more reasonable answer, we harvest the botanicals and almost exclusively dry them in some way, whether it's air dried in dehydrator or in a freeze dryer. And they're then pretty stable, but still we're just using them from this season, as opposed to, like we were saying, wrapping them up and sending them to a warehouse somewhere to be bought by somebody online. Like, we have our botanicals that are just this season in real time, still ongoing, dried. And we then place them, submerge them, let's say, into whatever oil we're using. I named 3 earlier. We'll just talk about olive oil. And that is in one of these, if the camera can see, amber glass jars behind me. These are about a half gallon. They're 2,000 milliliter jars. And you can, just think about the quality control I have over 2,000 milliliters being the maximum sized vessel that any of my oils ever get into. Because I even, let's just say a dozen of them are all German chamomile infused. That means that I have 12 different chances to have gotten it right. If the batch goes bad, maybe I won't even, could you imagine if there was like a bloom or something at the bottom of a 1,000-gallon tank of some product that you use 90% of, and then you get to the bottom and you're like, oh my God, it's disgusting down here. Yeah, so you say like the quality control over such a little jar. And that's another thing that comes down to scale. That's a major thing for me. The fact that every 2,000 milliliters, I can keep it sealed out of the air, out of the light, just untouched, undisturbed. And I just don't feel like that's possible at a larger scale. So anyways, they go into those jars, and then we place them into a small greenhouse that's actually back out in the garden. And so now they're just outside, and they are exposed to the daytime and the nighttime light. And that is for the most part, except for the fact that they ultimately get pressed to separate the oil from the flowers, that's the whole process there. So the only thing that happens after that is really time. And something that'll probably go underappreciated because nobody's ever done it, but I go out there and I shake the jars every day. And so there's like 90 or so of them, and it's 96 degrees out right now. And I like to do it when it's a little bit hot, because like if everything is kind of congealed down in the bottom, like when you shake it up, it's like a block in there. But if it's hot and everything's moving fast, then I can just go shake them all real easily. I like to kind of disturb the whole little environment in there. And so every day for about a month, usually I try to get it all into the month of July. I will be out there shaking all the jars at least once a day, just giving them my good vibes. And but other than that, they sit there, and the cooling and the heating, the pulsing rhythm of daytime and nighttime is the only force of action that ever gets applied to the jars other than my shaking. And so there's no machine, there's no stove, there's no pressure to break the cell walls. Everything happens under the mystery of the rotating planet. And it works. So I don't question it,
Mm-hmm.
At the end of one moon cycle, after having done nothing for about a month other than shake them, we put them through the press, and that creates our individual varietal library of oils. So we'll have chamomile, calendula, St. John's wort. We'll have all the different flowers. Those oils then get blended together. Like I was saying, 1 part this, 3 parts that. They then get blended together to make the different products. We also do that on a custom basis for different spas and estheticians, or other custom purposes. So those oils, like the summer solstice serum, it's not like I have gallons and gallons and gallons of summer solstice serum. I have our individual library of oils. They only get opened, when it's time to blend a new batch. We blend the bottles in about 60 to 100 units depending on the product. So any product you've ever gotten from us ever was made extremely recently, in the smallest of batches. And it doesn't matter who you bought it from, because our products are sold in a handful of other places, but these people are buying, 10 units, 15 units. It's not like there's nowhere where you can find hundreds of units of our products sitting on a shelf waiting for you to get an old one. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
Man, every time I hear you talk about your process, I am just honestly enamored by it, and just, so impressed by the level of detail and intention and thought. And it's just so rare. It really is. Name the industry. This level of intention is so rare. And I think that intention, that love for the process kind of gets imbibed into your products. And I don't know, call it woo, but it's almost like, when you eat your grandmother's baking or cooking or whatever, and she's not measuring anything. She's not using a recipe. She's like, I don't know, I use a pinch. I use a pinch of this and a pinch of that. And, oh, I didn't have that ingredient, so I use this. And, oh, well, that wasn't seasonal, so I changed it a little bit. And it's just there's love in it, and it tastes so much better. Grandma's cookies always taste so much better than Chips Ahoy. And it reminds me of that level of love and intention. And everybody knows that those ingredients, those food items, or in this case, skincare items, they hit different, they just do.
I think that's a very real topic, which we don't feel that often because we don't eat grandma's cooking that often, but like on our Italy trip, every meal, right, is prepared with so much thought and love. So it's just such an amplifying factor. It's called the imprint of the maker, if I were to call it.
Love that.
And so like the energetic imprint of the maker is present 100% of the time. We've just all become accustomed to the imprint of a machine, you know?
Yeah.
So we're creating mechanized food, which has this imprint of the maker. And, you know, that's why when you have a meal that was made, you know, measured by heart, as my wife and daughter say when they're baking, they say, oh, they always measure the vanilla by heart.
I do that with garlic.
Yeah, it's always the best, you know? So that's the mystery. I don't exactly know what's going on there, but we try to capture the mystery as much as possible. I mean, and these things have given me access to the mystery. I mean, I'm just using the word the mystery for like, I don't know what's going on in nature, but I'm just so enamored by all of the healing, beautiful, you know, opportunities available in every direction I look. Every time I'm outside or working with these plants or making these products or getting feedback from people, it's such a giving cycle to be a part of. And it's such a remembering to be in touch with nature. It's the cure-all to nearly every Western disease. And it's, you know, my immunity. It keeps me healthy, and it keeps me able to interact in the world without, you know, constantly feeling sick and like a little cold here and there, or afraid to be in public spaces with other sick people. I just feel like I'm in the ground with the dirt and the plants and, you know, the sweat and the ant bites and the bee stings, and it's just like I get it. It's medicine. It's just medicine.
It's this sacred rhythm, which I think dovetails nicely into what we're saying is the third skincare secret that no one's talking about, which is make your skincare rhythmic.
It's really sort of make everything rhythmic,
right?
Like a person, like that's exactly where we were just heading, because the beauty of being in touch with the garden and making these products is the ability to feel the flow of nature pretty intimately. And anyone who's growing a garden, for example, now, I mean, we're cusping on fall. So it's like, it's so hot out, and we're planting things for fall and winter, and things that will even grow through the winter and sort of, they call that overwintering, and then be available early spring. So it's like somebody who's in touch with the garden is always got their mind a little bit like a season or two ahead. I mean, talking about the quarter year seasons, like spring into fall, fall into winter, like, you know, you're not like right now, if you're not putting up for winter, meaning canning your tomatoes, drying your herbs, doing the things a gardener homesteader would do, well, then, you know, you're not going to survive the winter, right? So it's like there's a hyper awareness that comes from growing your own food, and what is happening in the universe and from the perspective of this planet at this moment, like meaning what exact season is it? And so we have this group called the Inner Circle, which folks get invited into after they ever come on an event with us. And it's essentially a twice-a-month book club where right now we're reading Rudolf Steiner's Calendar of the Soul, which are 52 verses, one for each week of the year, that describe this shift in seasonal dynamics within the human and within the environment over the course of the year. And if you just think about it, like, yeah, of course I could think about the differences between fall and winter and spring and summer, but to think that each 52 of the weeks are actually subtly different, and that each day of the week is actually subtly different, and right down to each hour and minute and moment, you know, outside the light and the warmth from outer space, the starlights, the meteors, the different things that are informing the planet right now on a constant basis during the daytime, even when we can't see it, it's all still happening overhead. All of this coming in is quite different from a grow light in a warehouse. where hydroponic plants are being grown organically right now, And then it's not much of a leap to then look at us sitting in an apartment building in artificial lights, drinking artificial water, taking vitamins and supplements, taking the elevator, driving in the car, climate controlled the whole way, going to work, sitting in an office, and reversing the process, turning on some Netflix, staying up too late. It's not much of a leap to just look at us in terms of our growing environment and what kind of crops are we growing of ourselves. And so to be in touch with, at a bare minimum, what season it is and how that informs, the nutrients and opportunities available to you and how to optimize, your daily food and water and activities depending on the season and what's going on outside your doors. And then to take that further, I mean, that's the beginning, right? But to take that further, I think there's just a untapped well of wisdom and medicine in deepening your connection and awareness of these daily, weekly, monthly shifts in nature, just becoming aware of our surroundings, and celebrating the shifts as what we would call festivals. So like in the Waldorf school system, which my daughter has always been a part of, there's a major emphasis on festivals. And, we know about Christmas and Easter, but there's just a couple dozen probably that occur over the course of the school year and into the summer, of course, that are really marking these seasonal shifts and the energetic qualities of them and sort of like mythical anthropomorphized stories of them that like really are impactful for children and adults that sort of make you feel or help you feel exactly what is this time of year. And because there's, on a physical, spiritual sort of spectrum, there's a more physical and a more spiritual time of year. Like on the peak of summer, all of our energy is sort of flowing out into the world. And, just like trees are fruiting and flowering, there's this big exhaustion out into, for lack of a better word, I know we're not necessarily, this conversation isn't really grounded in spirituality at this point, but to say that our soul expands out into the cosmos in the summer would be, I think, accurate. And then in the wintertime, is when we go inward. And that's the same as Mother Nature. So the leaves fall off the tree, above ground, especially in a snowy place, everything appears to go dormant. And yet that's actually a very inwardly active time for the earth and for us. We are the earth. So it's, that's all the same. And so now we're not even just talking about like the outwardly obvious signs of nature and the physical differences between the summers, but we're sort of talking about the energetic quality and the spiritual opportunities of these changing seasons. And so now we're coming up on the equinoxes, the halfway points between these climaxes, and equal day, equal night. That's specifically what it means, but there's an obvious balancing of energies there as well. And when you cross any of these thresholds, it's just so interesting. Like you're already at the next one, like in math, you round up. Like when you get to the summer solstice, the brightest day of the year, it's also a return to darkness because every single day afterwards is less light. So, we peaked out. And at Christmas time, at the winter solstice, it's the return of the light, even though it's the absolute darkest time of the year. Every day afterward will be brighter. And so when we're at this upcoming, for example, fall equinox, we're gathering in Wimberley, Texas with a group of people, and there's info about this on our website, for what we're calling an equinox festival. So exactly what we're talking about right here. It's called Fall Into Here. And the point is that if we can gather on these days in community and sort of hit that downbeat together, then we can be more in sync with these changing flows of Mother Nature. It's essentially free medicine. Yeah. And it lasts, it's not like you're just going to feel it there on that day. To gather in ceremony and sort of honor this shifting of the season is something that like really leads you into the entirely next season, at which point come the winter solstice, you're going to be thinking about this shift and you're going to be more in tune about it and more likely to honor it within yourself and to sort of, grow corn with it, as they say, to make something out of it. These are opportunities. It's not just like the calendar is changing. These are opportunities to grow and evolve and expand, and then to contract and condense and, to keep the both extremes alive within the other. So like when we go into the winter time, it's not that we want to condense to the point of crystallizing and hardening and shutting ourselves off from the world. We want to keep that warmth and that aliveness, that glow, that sunlight. We want to keep it alive inside. And then, when we expand out, we don't want to lose our ability to think clearly or our ability to connect with the ground and stay rooted. Even though it's the summer, I might be like, let's just drink beers and jerk off. And like, I didn't mean jerk off, I meant jack off. Like, fuck off. What's the expression?
I think those are the same thing.
Jack off and jerk off are the same thing, but
crushing beers and masturbating. I get it.
Yeah, that's what summer's about.
Neither of those are what I meant to say.
I love that you were on this like beautiful monologue and that you tied it in a bow with jerking off.
It's like, to just like go willy-nilly, like fuck around, like might be the tendency when you're a kid on summer break.
Right.
There's more, that in the language of Steiner, which I've been sort of circling around for the last little bit, that's the difference between Lucifer and Ahriman. And so to expand fully into this summer Luciferic realm without keeping the polar balance, alive within us would sort of be a loss of self. And same within the winter. Like if we were to harden off and cut off from everything and just condense, it's like a form of disconnection. And so the idea is to stay connected. And that's what these festivals and these celebrations and this awareness of seasonal rhythms, I feel like that's connection. And I feel like that's the missing medicine of this time. And I feel like it's immediately available and just absolutely underappreciated.
Yeah, absolutely underappreciated. I have to constantly be reminded that we are these seasonal beings. And every time I lean into the current of a particular season, the more I realize how set up we are to be in rhythm with this cyclical nature that is life itself. And so just a beautiful reminder for me. And I love that energy is really baked into these products. As we kind of wrap this thing up, maybe want to spend some time talking about the products themselves and where people can find them, but how they're used best. We can definitely chime in as it pertains to our use, especially of the summer solstice serum here. For me, having really never used skincare much at all, after a shower or after a swim, I'm usually putting some molecular hydrogen on my face and hair, which dries quickly, and then I apply the summer solstice serum. I don't even have to apply it that liberally. I mean, I like a pea-sized dollop of serum really gets the job done across my face, extra a little under the eyes, and then in my hair actually as well. But maybe if we can walk through the rest of the products, where people can, find out more about them and how they're used best.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty interested in talking to people about them, as you can probably have heard over the last hour. So people can always DM at Be Here Farm and ask any specific questions they have. And then our website, BeHereFarm.com, I would say has to be the best place and the only place to get the entire collection. There's some great spas and estheticians and a few other websites. I'll for sure mention sunpotion.com, who they sort of happen to sell our products through a great history and relationship that we have. But really, if you've just never heard of Sun Potion, I'd refer you to check out their catalog of products, which are mostly internal products. And then our products are obviously mostly external products, although our dry mask and our wet mask were released in collaboration with Sun Potion. So you'll notice that they share the same golden sun potion labels that they market all their products under. So great modeling job, Mimi, for those watching on video. So yeah, our website, BeHereFarm.com, and our Instagram are the best place to stay in touch and get our collection. And the use of the product is, what I want to say is that there's no wrong way to use them. It's very, as opposed to those sort of scientifically oriented products we were talking about, which probably have very specific rules about how to use them and when and how much. It's very much a build your own adventure based on what I would call an intuitive relationship with the product. Like, you know how you were saying, like, now my skin is hungry for it? That's that's exactly what happens. You first get the product, you're excited, so maybe you use it every day for a few days, and then you skip a day, and then you're like, oh, I've skipped a day, and then you put it on, and you're like, oh, it feels great. And all of a sudden, you fall into this rhythm where you do skip certain days, and you do put it on exactly when your skin feels like it needs it. And so you start developing this feeling sense of when you want to use the product. All you have to do is try them out for a week or two, and you start to develop that feeling sense of using them. So like, for me, I go through seasons where I'm using the lip treatment and I'm not. And when I'm using it daily, sometimes once or twice a day. And it just feels like my lips really need the nourishment. They really need some support. And after you feel what your lips feel like with Honey Kiss on, and you get used to that, then you start to develop that hunger sense. Like you were saying, like every once in a while, your lips needs a little bit of Honey Kiss. And you just have that sense, just like you like, oh, I'm hungry. What are you hungry for? Yeah, well, you figure it out. How do you figure it out? You just do. You're a human, right? So you start to develop this feeling hunger inner sense of when you want to use the product. The masks that we've been talking about, dry and wet masks, I use them on a bit of a slower rhythm than, say, my daughter, who like puts it on every day in the bath. And the bath is actually the most common place I like to use it, or any time that I'm about I know that I have a shower on the horizon. If you were to want to mask during the day and then wipe it off with a wet towel, you'd find that the honey and the beeswax leaves what we could call a protective layer on your skin, meaning not all of the product comes off. I don't mind that. Most people don't mind that. But the way to thoroughly get it off would be like to take that rag into a nice hot shower. Afterwards, I would follow that up with a serum, after I rub my face with a nice hot towel. It might feel a little bit red or raw, right? So just kind of soothe it with serum. So you start to develop this little bit of a dance and rotation if you were to have this entire collection of products available. If you only were to have like one or two of these products available, just to speak about them as categories, all three serums are really perfect head to toe. We have our Summer Solstice serum we've talked a lot about. We have its sister, the Restorative Body Serum. And then we have the Royacon serum, which is, in some people's cases, like the absolute daily oil that they use for their face and in some cases body. And for other people, it's used more for, let's say, the aromatherapeutic benefit, because it's strongly scented compared to the first two. It has lemongrass, clary sage, and rosemary essential oils in it that we distill. And so great for alertness and mindfulness and presence. And those essential oils actually have all sorts of other aromatherapeutic benefits, like headache reduction and memory and cognitive improvement. And interestingly, insects actually hate those three scents as much as we like them. So I like to wear the Royacon serum if I'm going to be out in nature. I'll even splash a little bit down on my ankles. And so there's no magic to when and how to use the products. If you're like, no, I need an answer, the answer would be use it maybe after you get out of the shower in the morning or in the evening. Once a day is usually fine for people. Some people like it twice a day. If you ever feel like Mimi said, like, oh, this is oily, you might be in a humid climate, so use less, or try to use it only at night, and then it kind of has all night to soak in.
And with your skin type too, I tend to have drier skin more than oily. Someone who has oily skin might, it might just be sitting on top. But if you have drier skin, your skin will absolutely drink this.
And it does seem like after the shower, it goes further. So that, pea-sized dollop that I'll put on my finger seems to get the full face, which then makes the actual bottle like 60 to 90 days worth of supply.
I just use the pipette, I put like a couple drops in the actual pipette. It's not full because I feel like if we have more, we use more. And if you just use, just put a tiny bit in the pipette and I just literally put it directly on my face, tiny dollop in these, under my eyes or cheeks and then forehead and chin and then one on my chest. And that way I know that I'm not using more than I need for that specific area. And I because when I first got your products, I was just like full dollop, full pipette into my, just like bathing in it basically. And then you realize like, oh shit, okay, I need to be a little bit more rationing with these things. And so I figured out my own system to only use what I need. So yeah, try that.
Your system sounds great. I talked to a woman last week who said that her bottle lasts about 8 months, and she likes to add just a couple drops to another moisturizing product that she loves. Interestingly, that's what Paul Chek shared as well, that he adds our serum to this other, I forget, maybe Weleda moisturizing product that he loves. And that's what I mean by there's no wrong way to use it. Some people mix it with shea butter and use it as a shaving cream. Some people use it as an aftershave. I put it on my hair and my beard. We put it on anything. I mean, this is now, I'm not making claims about our product. I'm just describing how we use them, but we put it on anything as like in terms of minor first aid. We have a cut, scratch, bite, hive, rash, anything. And there's a lot of people who use it in this way and attest to like, what is going on here? Like, it made ABC go away immediately. This usually takes me weeks to get over, and it's gone overnight. Like my daughter's psoriasis, like we've been trying stuff for years. It's gone overnight. The amount of times I've heard people say it's been gone overnight makes me wonder, like, what is going on? Like,
what are you doing?
What magic did we put in here?
Yeah, it's like, what is this? Like, it's unbelievable.
It's always baffled me when, you've got like body wash, for instance, and people will be like, don't put it on your face. Like, don't put the body wash on your face. I'm putting it on my balls. Like, what is going on here that I shouldn't put it on my face?
Yeah.
Like, this is kind of a red flag for me if I can't apply this anywhere and everywhere.
You're bringing up in a funny way another actual use of the product, which is that I don't use face wash of any kind. So there's been no soap or face wash on my face for the last, I want to say, 8 or 9 years.
Wow.
And the only thing I've ever done is an oil cleanse with our serum, just like people oil cleanse in their mouths. And so it's just like a 5-minute face massage, small circles on your face with a little bit more of the serum than you normally put on. And even 10 minutes, changing directions, going all around your face. And you start to slowly, after the first few minutes, feel the condition of your skin change. And you feel grit and debris and things kind of come out of the skin. And at the end, sometimes when you wipe it, you'll see like dirt more or less on the towel. And so you're cleaning antimicrobial, antibacterial, antifungal, and you're infusing your skin with this, deep penetration of the serum, which is antioxidant rich and anti-inflammatory and all the beautiful things that you're looking to get out of the serum in the first place. And so an oil cleanse with any of the serums, but I often do the summer solstice, is, once a week or something like that. I'll find myself at the mirror doing that. Other than that, I just am rinsing my face with water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. I think about the stripping of the biome, the skin biome, like we probably overdo it. You're inspiring me to do an oil cleanse because I used to do them all the time and I haven't in a while. So maybe tonight I'll treat myself with some summer solstice oil cleansing.
Yeah, let me know how it goes, because it's also like the most effective makeup remover.
Mm-hmm.
So you
absolutely.
You would as a makeup remover and then wipe that and then do a deeper cleanse with like a fresh drop, pipette of oil.
Yeah. Yeah. And also the face massage, the fascial release of like massaging the muscles in your face. Like, talk about anti-aging, which isn't a thing. We're all aging. You can't anti-age. But if you want to talk about like ways to age well, massage your face more. And so an oil cleanse is a great way to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And these are the rhythms, this is the skincare, rhythm. It's a big picture, human rhythms. Our products are made in the sun and the moon rhythms, but also to use them rhythmically. And if weekly you're giving yourself an oil cleanse and a face massage, if weekly you're applying the wet mask and the dry mask while you sit in the bath or read a book. I mean, these are rhythms you could add into your life that have great returns and return a lot of value, and generally are part of a holistic lifestyle. So if all of a sudden I'm masking once a week, well, that's like, an hour of time when I'm likely relaxing. I'm not going to be at a Zoom business call with the face mask on. So it's like, it's now built into my week that I have this self-care time. And that's sort of the big picture knot you could tie around this whole story, is that self-care is earth care, earth care is self-care. And so to unify them both into your lifestyle is sort of what we're trying to bring to the world.
I love that so much. Yeah. I did want to mention before I forget, for our listeners, if any of these products have resonated or sparked your interest, of course, go to the website and check them out and see what speaks to you. And Jared has so generously given us and our listeners a free gift with any order over $50. So anything you add to your cart that's over $50, also add a Honey Kiss lip treatment to your cart, and you'll see the Honey Kiss zero out as a free gift. This is a $34 value, so this is like, you're getting more than if you used like a 10% off discount code or whatever. So thank you, Jared, so much. I'll have the link in the show notes, but you can also just use the code medicine at Be Here Farm in their shop. So, and if you have any questions, obviously you can reach out to either of us, but thank you. I do want to highlight that we are the only ones with this kind of offering, BT Dubs. So we're basically the favorites.
Yeah, I thought we were coming up with a fun way to try to give back to your community, and I thought we should give it a shot. It's if you don't want to spend $50, this is at $34. This is the lowest entry point product into the brand, and so it's also just a great product if you wanted to check it out. But I would love to be gifting these out, unless you let your kids eat them, which my daughter has a history of doing. But you can. You could expect this to last quite a long time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it's almost like, how like you can't get one sock out of, there's like certain mysteries of the world. Like, I don't think I've ever seen the bottom of a like I just use them all the time. You inevitably you end up losing something so little, I would say, before you get to the bottom, because you just keep going. And with I'll just point out, with the wet mask or the Honey Kiss, if you ever keep it in like offensively hot conditions, there's no, like we've said, there's nothing holding these things together except a little bit of beeswax and honey. So they'll, of course, get soft and mushy. The cool news is if you put that in the fridge or even just left it, I guess, for a couple days at normal temperatures, it'll harden up and it'll return back to itself. The wet mask, you could mix it up, put it in the fridge, and it'll completely recombine, even if you saw oil separating and sitting on the top of it, which is something that tends not to happen. But let's say somebody left it in a window or something, and now oil is above the honey and above the glycerin, they've totally separated out. You could spin it around with a spoon and put it in the fridge. It's going to set right back up for you. So it's very resilient.
Pro tip.
Great gifts as well.
Yeah.
Female, male, and like I said, for me, this last 2 to 3 months, and I just you won't regret trying the summer solstice serum.
And I don't know what it is with the smell. It's not feminine or masculine. It really isn't. It's like a beautiful, not too much, not too little. Like I can't even describe the smell. I don't even know what it is. It's just magic.
It's hard. It is hard to describe. I've never really accurately described it. I'd say it's mildly floral, but there's a sort of a balance of earthiness to it. I'd say universally people respond well. I've never had somebody, and I don't like scents really. That's why our other products are so light in the scent. And this one has 0 essential oils, but you could describe it as unscented. And so it's a very neutral scent that universally people seem to respond well to. The most common thing they say when they smell it, like right up close out of the bottle, like you were just doing, and they try to get a scent, is vital. which is a weird word because it's not a smell, but it's so accurate. Like what they're smelling is an aliveness to the process that they're not. It's the energetic imprint stuff. It's the life. It's the shelf life stuff. It's all the different stuff we've talked about. It comes out to this aliveness that they can't quite put their finger on because it's not typical, but they know they recognize it immediately.
Yeah.
That's honestly the most common thing people say is that it smells like it's alive or something like that.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely
concur.
agree. Yep.
Guys, eat with your skin. Know who grows your skincare
And when.
and make your skincare rhythmic. These are the 3 skincare secrets that nobody's talking about except us for the first time.
Nobody.
Today.
Never before and never again.
Super fun, man. And honestly, like I didn't think I would care this much about skincare, but surely enough, it's been a game changer, to use an overused term.
Yeah.
I just am in great reverence for your process and for the alchemy that it takes to get this to the market and out to the good people of the world, and just really grateful for all that you do here, because I think again, this level of intention is how we make this world a better place, and from the experiences that you curate to the actual products themselves, that ethos is felt. And so mad props to you, my friend.
Yeah. I'm so glad we know you.
Likewise. Yeah, I love you guys so much. I feel the same in return, and look forward to the next time we see each other or talk to each other.
Yep. Soon, I'm sure. Check the show notes, you guys, for all the links, the discount. Check out if you're in the mood for a trip of your life, a connection to like-minded individuals, and probably making some new friends and new memories. Check out Jared's events on his website. I think it's under gatherings. Amazing. You'll never regret it. So if you have any questions, again, reach out to either one of us, any one of us. We're here, and we'll talk to you next time. Go spread some light. Okay, bye.
Thank you so much for listening.
If you enjoyed that, check out right over here for some more fun clips.
Oh, and you're going to want to subscribe.
Bye.